Discovery Weekly.
Welcome to Discovery Weekly, a bonus show from the podcast Discovery Show where we talk about all the other things we've discovered throughout the week. I'm Zach.
I'm Kirk.
And I'm Matt.
And I discovered some things about belly button bacteria. But before I get there, let me warn everyone in a good way that it is very important for us to have microbes all over our bodies. I didn't know kind of the level of how important it is, but it's very important because what they do is your entire body. Okay, germaphobes, just close your ears. This is going to be hard to hear. Your entire body is covered with like a microbiome. There is fungus and bacteria that cover all of your body. And there's different ones in different places on your body. And all of it's important because your skin, the main point of it is to keep infection out. And so by having a full like colony of bacteria and fungus on you, they outcompete the bad stuff and they keep stuff from getting like inside of your skin. And they also will signal when something's going wrong so that your body can try and fight it off. It's all very important. It's very interesting. Things like acne are caused by kind of a problem with your microbiome or people reacting to a specific bacteria on their face, and that causes acne. And then there's some diseases and illnesses that are just caused because your microbiome on your skin gets out of whack. And then if you can fix it and get it back to equilibrium, then it will fix itself. So it's all very important.
Belly button. I want to hear more about this thing.
So now,
I need to know, Zach, question.
Belly buttons.
Were you troubleshooting after you bought some of that Jessica Simpson stuff?
Ever since, my belly button has not been the same. It's still body buttered or whatever that. What was that thing called? Jessica Simpson's belly
button glitter factory butter.
I hated whatever that thing was called. But yeah, since then it has messed up my belly button, and so I needed to find this out. And like, it's just there's all kinds of weird stuff going on there. I was just like, something's wrong with my belly button. Help me, please, Google. And then it gave me this. And
turned it into a Sarlacc pit.
That's a random reference.
Sorry, I've got a Star Wars Discovery. I've got Star Wars on the brain.
There we go. That makes more sense. But there is a biology department in North Carolina State University and Nature Research Center have started something where they are trying to find out, one, how diverse belly button flora is. And if there is like crossover. So they're trying to see if people have different belly button things.
Belly button flora. Sorry.
No,
that's I've ever heard.
Well, that is what they're dedicated to. It's a group of passionate scientists that are swabbing people's belly buttons.
What do you do? I'm a belly button florist.
So there is I think this project is called It's a Jungle in There. And they have fully leaned into how amazing this is. And basically they're cotton swabbing people's belly buttons. I think that this is on a volunteer basis. So if that's something you're interested in, you can call somebody up. Just call a friend and see if they're interested.
Like sneaking into houses and doing it.
So through this project, they have discovered that belly buttons are very diverse habitats. In total, they discovered 2,300 different species, and more than half of these may be new to science. They are belly button specific species of bacteria.
What?
Here's a quote you guys are going to love. More than half of those may be new to science. And then here's the quote from Dr. Rob Dunn. The belly buttons reminded me of rainforests. They differed more than we expected. Each participant's belly button hosted about 67 different species, yet not one was common to every person, and only 8 were found on at least 70% of participants.
What?
And so,
why are we still going to space? Why are we still going deeper in the oceans?
Yeah.
We just need to look into our own navels.
Yeah, just right into the belly button. That's where the
Final
science is.
frontier. Yeah.
This whole time, all we've needed to do is a little more navel gazing.
Yeah, I mean, they could be that. And then in November 2012, they published their first findings in a paper called A Jungle in There. Bacteria in belly buttons are highly diverse but predictable. And soon they will have 600 samples from all over North America. And this led me to another kind of interesting thing, because they have a lot of things they're running as projects. So there is a place, it's the Rob Dunn Lab. So that guy, Rob Dunn, has a public science lab at NC State where he has all of these things that are kind of accessible for citizens, so it's like I think they call it citizen science projects. And what you can do is go look at the wild variety of stuff there. There's a website called yourwildlife.org, and there's projects that you can help with. There's a cat tracker. There's a thing for some weird kind of crickets. There is a thing for ants, something called forehead mites, which that sounds even worse than what we're talking about right now. But there's also one called Your Bacteria Armpit Life. And so that one, they're doing a similar thing where they're exploring different kinds of bacteria on the body. So basically what we have here is we have people who are really interested in science and have made this like a fun kind of way that people can collaborate and be a part of something that's very strange, but who knows what it's going to mean, because kind of looking at right now where you see all the stuff about gut biome and things like that, it's becoming very important. So who knows what we can like figure out by figuring out all of the things that are living like in symbiosis with us. But I just thought it was funny.
That was pretty great.
Oh man. Speaking of gut biomes like Sarlacc pits, that's my reference to Star Wars. That's my beautiful segue. Thank you very much.
Who are you talking to?
I think he's hearing thunderous applause in his head.
I was expecting you to hit that the little soundboard that you.
I kind of do want to work on this, but I don't at the same time. I feel like it's going to unlock a dumber level of our show.
I've always kind of been a sucker for like Easter eggs and stuff for movies, and of course Star Wars with its giant universe and how many fans and how much attention to detail has gone into it. There's so many Easter eggs, and so I found this extremely long article that has so many different ones, and I just wanted to talk about a few of them some of them I didn't know, some of them I had known, but I had maybe forgot about. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of them. One of the ones that I thought was really cool that I had forgot about, but in the movie Solo, the one about Han Solo, they did a nod to Harrison Ford's role as Indiana Jones. I forget what part of the movie they were at someone's house or whatever, and they have the golden idol from how the opening scene of Indiana,
first scene,
really, it's in the background, and you can see it in the background as one of the like collectibles in this like collection that I don't remember whose house it's at, but it's in the background. One of the really cool things, and this is from one of the early movies, in 1977, Mark Hamill was actually injured in a pretty serious car accident. This was between shooting movies. The accident left him with some pretty serious damage done to his cheekbones and nose. Rather than completely ignoring this, George Lucas decided to use it to their advantage when they started filming Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Shortly after Hamill's accident, Lucas wrote a Wampa attack in the film to explain his injuries. And if you keep an eye on them, you can actually see the injuries are already on his face before he was attacked by the monster. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that those were actual scars from a car accident that they basically wrote in so that he would have a reason to have facial scars.
Yep.
That was fascinating. One of the things that I never knew that I thought was really cool, Princess Leia. Where did the idea for those the hair buns? Yeah, where did those come from? So Princess Leia has rocked several legendary looks throughout the franchise, but her outfit in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope was completely calculated by George Lucas. The iconic side buns were modeled after women in the 20th century Mexico called soldaderas, who were all part of a revolutionary uprising. And they've got some pictures of them, and they look just like her. They're huge. These huge like buns that were spiral look just like them. It's really cool. They were like, I guess like they're like rebels essentially, political rebels.
That is cool.
That was really cool. This one I had heard about, and I think this one a lot of people know as well. When Luke instructs R2-D2 to remain on the ship, he ignores the instructions. Did you guys notice that? Because he remembers that when that occurred last time was when Anakin had told him to remain on the ship in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And that was when Anakin never came back to the ship and he came back, or he turned into Darth Vader. So from then on, he never stayed on a ship, no matter who told him to stay on the ship.
R2, the little wild card. For
the rest of the franchise, he's like, no, I'm not going to stay here. I'm just going to come. So that's kind of one of those little Easter eggs. I really love looking back at the practical effects that they used to do.
Oh yeah,
on the first movies. One of my favorite vehicles was that land speeder, and the scenes where it was going over the desert, the way that they were able to make it look like it was floating is it had wheels, but they literally just put like a foot wide pieces of glass that reflected the ground and blocked the view of the wheels. So they've got pictures of that, and it looks really cool to be able to see how they were able to do that.
Yeah, I always thought that one was really cool.
I love that like era of movies where, because I mean, Alien was doing that too, and then so was 2001: Space Odyssey. All of those visual effects for space things were awesome.
So wild.
Yeah. And last but not least, and I thought this was really cool, this was a nod to a group of Star Wars fans. This is it says stormtroopers might be the bad guys in Star Wars movies, but in real life, they can be very charitable and caring. The 501st is a group of Star Wars fans who volunteer in the community while dressed up as stormtroopers. Their goodwill even translated in films as background cameo. In Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, a pink R2 robot is seen in the background rushing around. This is an actual droid that group owns that the 501st created to visit children in hospitals getting treatment. So they actually were able to be a cameo on one of the movies as a nod to their organization for their charitable work. I just thought that was really cool.
That's weird to me that they would, as a charitable organization, choose to dress up as stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers look cool, man.
They really do.
And that's the thing. Like, you can't really like dress up like Luke easily, you know, and look, and you got to look like Mark Hamill, which it's more difficult than looking like a stormtrooper.
I just love the idea of being in like a children's ward of a thing, and it's just like stormtroopers walking in, and children who don't understand are like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah,
oh no.
But it's weird. Like if you go to Disney though, like all the kids, they love seeing freaking stormtroopers. So it's really weird. I agree with you, but it's weird. But it's cool. Like, I don't know.
They look really cool. I think that'll mostly do it.
But there's like a million of these like Easter eggs. Like, this article is huge. So there'll be links in the show notes if you want to dig in and read some more. It's always fun to dive deep into that.
Well, talking about diving deep into movies and all sorts of fandoms, I was introduced to this awesome thing, and I'm gonna tell my little personal story. Someone on Facebook that I had met through some commercial stuff had posted that he's selling these posters, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That I bought this one that's behind me right now. It's this big 24 by 36 movie poster for Prometheus, but it's not the one that they hang outside the theaters, you know, Movieco or whatever. Movieco. Does that even exist anymore? It's AMC, right?
I think they got bought out, maybe.
Okay. They should have, if they haven't. I don't see their stock going up or whatever. But these are like licensed versions that artists from around the world have made. And I have this awesome Prometheus one, and I went and met the guy and bought the thing. And I said, "This is so cool. How do you find this?" And he introduced me to this awesome website this awesome community that has there's a crazy secondary market for all of these, but it's called Mondo Trader. Mondo Trader. The website obviously will be in the show notes, but I'm just going to read a little bit about this company, and then it's basically Mondo is a small group of fans, family, and friends headquartered in Austin, Texas, but has a global staff. They work with incredible artists who share their passions to create posters, soundtracks, toys, apparel, books, games, collectibles for classic films, pop culture items, anything. And it was founded in 2001 as a quasi bootleg T-shirt shop, which I think is the legal way of saying a bootleg T-shirt shop.
Just bootleg T-shirts.
Yeah, like that's probably their way of saying like we were cool, we're a cool thing, but now we have to say quasi. But basically, they have these amazing posters for the movies we love. They have a ton of Star Wars posters that are just incredible. The newer ones, The Force Awakens, I've seen them on there. I highly recommend going to this website, checking out everything, and then outside of that, finding communities on Facebook, on forums like Discord and everything, that people will resell these posters. So what he told me is as soon as one of these posters drop, or as soon as one of these things drops, they get bought up almost immediately because they're so collectible. And then where it's really happening is on the secondary market, because everybody's kind of sifted through the really cool stuff already and is only reselling the really cool stuff, which is really awesome. And it's surprisingly cheap. So I highly recommend going to that website, mondoshop.com, and just seeing and like it. Honestly, I spend way too much time now just going through all the posters. There's so many, but it's so fun.
You know those days when your coffee shop is out of cold brew and your air conditioner breaks and you try to go to the beach but there's 0 parking spots? Yeah, life can be hard.
Good thing Meundies is here to help you take a break from the hardships of the world and give yourself a soft summer.
When you're cocooned in the softest and most breathable undies, loungewear, and swimwear known to humanity, all your other problems will simply melt away.
Hey, Zach, what is your favorite part about a great pair of underwear?
For me, Matt, it's got to be the fit. It's got to fit nicely and not get all weird and blown out and not fit well anymore. What about you?
It happens. Well, I think for me, it's the fabric. It's got to be soft enough and yet pliable enough to move with me.
So let's face it, summer is sweaty, but your butt doesn't have to be. With Meundies' light and breathable micromodal fabric, you can stay comfy and cool all summer long. They have super fun seasonal prints and tons of styles to choose from, in sizes extra small to 4XL. So you can bring the beach to your butt without ever leaving your living room.
If you do dare to brave the heat and venture to the pool or beach, check out their new and improved swimwear styles. They're soft, stretchy, and sustainably made. Make it a soft summer with Meundies.
Meundies has a great offer for our listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off. If you sign up with their free-to-join membership, you can apply that 15% off to their already discounted membership prices. To get 15% off your first order and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to meundies.com/podfix. That's meundies.com/podfix. PODFIX. We here at the Podcast Discovery Show love Meundies, and Meundies loves us.
So I discovered the story this week of Brownie Mary, and this is an Atlas Obscura one. I saw it through their Instagram. By the way, Atlas Obscura Instagram, also awesome. But
I don't think I've ever looked at their Instagram.
Brownie Mary, her real name was Mary Jane Rathbun, and she definitely fit that description, is the first line of this. So she was born in 1922 and really became kind of famous in the 70s. So her daughter actually passed away in a car accident when she was only 22. And many of the friends of Brownie Mary thought that that was kind of one of the reasons that led to her transformation and all the charitable work she would do. And the charity work that she did was in the early 1970s, and this is a quote from the article, she started selling brownies augmented with marijuana to make extra money. Mm-hmm. Though Rathbone was an early adopter of the edible, they had been written about for a long time beforehand, and she apparently was doing this just to make money at the start. She did eventually get law enforcement notice, but that was mostly because she was putting out printed flyers. And they found one of these flyers. So they basically, the first time she got hit with some law trouble, they arrested her, and Brownie Mary was 57 years old. She already looked like a grandmother. And basically, when they showed up to her door to arrest her, and this was reported in 1981, she was wearing a flowered apron. And when she opened her apartment, they basically just saw this person who looks like a grandma was wearing a flower apron, and they had sent an undercover detective to like act like a customer and buy brownies. But basically, he saw a bunch of pot brownies. And she apparently also had a reputation for being famously unfiltered. And so this is a quote from her. When she was arrested the first time, her quote was, "Oh shit." And that was it. And so then after that, so they found her they came across one of her flyers saying she had a flyer that apparently she just threw around San Francisco that said "magically delicious brownies." And this is the police had said, and there was squiggles and stars printed on the page, and they were a surefire drug culture clue to their real nature. And so the police booked her, and they booked her for possession and sale of illegal drugs. And her punishment was hundreds of hours of community service. And she basically pivoted from this point. So she did hundreds of hours of community service, but then the AIDS epidemic started. And this happened and she was in San Francisco. And
whoa,
so
that was a hard turn.
Yeah, no, but that's where she started like working with it. So the AIDS epidemic started, and that was in the 80s. And gay men were very, very like susceptible to this just being this killing huge groups of their people. And essentially they had gone through and nobody was really doing anything yet. The politicians were kind of ignoring this because it was happening to gay men, and they were just it was all bad. But what she started doing is going and using this as a treatment. So they started talking about this, and she was bringing brownies to cancer patients because essentially she was a volunteer at the hospital ever since. That's the funny thing is the cops like punished her to community service, but like it worked out perfectly, and it loved the service of it. And so she was giving cancer patients her special brownies because it would help you if you had nausea or if you weren't feeling well. And so she was just going to hospitals, I guess, giving people pot brownies. And then she found out that like the kind of the AIDS epidemic was happening under everyone's noses, and they were kind of being ignored. So she started doing the same thing there. She never once like hesitated to go be around AIDS patients, and she was around them from the very beginning of it. And eventually she started donating very large quantities of special brownies just to try and help everybody feel a little bit better, that all these people that were sick. And she was calling them, these are quotes, "my gay friends," and she also called them her kids. And she would go just like bring brownies to them all. And basically all the nurses loved her because that's the thing is like, yeah, she was doing pot brownies, but she was like trying to help people that were gravely sick.
Yeah.
So the actual hospital staff, nobody was actually upset with her except for like law enforcement. The hospital awarded her with Volunteer of the Year in 1986.
Wow.
And then in the early 90s, she the quote here is she became a political powerhouse. She teamed up with a marijuana activist, and she lobbied for legalization of medical marijuana. And she prominently contributed to the passing of San Francisco's Proposition P in 1991, which freed physicians from the consequences of prescribing medical marijuana. And then she was arrested again in 92. And this one received massive coverage as a quote, and headlines no longer portrayed her as a naughty grandmother. Now she was an AIDS activist, one who not only baked weed brownies, but normal cookies as well. Someone who held the hands of patients when they received their diagnosis and encouraged them to keep living and hoping for a cure. And so eventually she was acquitted. And honestly, it's funny because she was acquitted of the charges. And the next month, San Francisco Board of Supervisors declared August 25th, 1992 to be Brownie Mary Day. And then basically her with another marijuana advocate at the time named Perron was his last name. They assisted with the opening of the first medical marijuana dispensary with the passing of Prop 215 in 1996. And that was the first state to legalize it. And basically, her work, this is a quote, her work also inspired research into the effectiveness of medical marijuana on those with HIV and AIDS. So basically, she just had this really cool life, and she never stopped. And she always talked trash to anybody who was kind of having a problem with what she was doing. And I just loved the kind of, I don't know, feistiness she had. But the thing is, she was being feisty about helping people. So it's like, how can you honestly be upset at this woman? And it was just a really funny story that came across, and I thought it was a cool one.
For sure. That's a great story.
Wow. Speaking of great people with great stories, we're going to revisit an old friend, Yelp reviewer Johnny B. or Johnny B. And of course, I can only read this review of Ed's Restaurant in Defuniak Springs, Florida, in the way that I can only perceive John B. is speaking. This is a 5-star review, by the way. I love to talk almost as much as I love to eat. So this review will be a cinch to write. But I'm warning you now that I've got a lot to say about Ed's. It was the wee dawn hours ushering in a Monday morning as we ambled along Interstate 10, heading back home after a crazy fun birthday bash weekend in New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
The sounds of the pavement passing under were giving way to the groaning sounds of hunger taking over.
I can feel it.
As my fab one started looking online for a tasty oasis, I advised that I didn't want any exit food. None of those cookie-cutter franchise food factories just off the I-10 for me. I wanted to find a quaint or quirky mom-and-pop type place. Nearing a town with a name like Defuniak Springs almost guaranteed we'd find the perfect place. And that is when she found Ed's. We both instantly agreed that Ed's would be the place for us to hang our hunger pangs. The first thing I noticed in pulling into the parking lot was that Ed's has been in business since 1964. That's 58 years, folks. Now, there ain't nothing fancy about Ed's. It's a simple shack with a sometimes walk-up window, side-by-side outside bathroom, slightly hazed over window-filmed windows, and plenty of time-honored scars. Right inside the door, you see the sizzling flat top, where all of the cooking creations come to life. With plenty of seating, we parked at a table front near the window. Moseying over to get our breakfast wishes was a girl named Micah. Turns out she was as unique as her name. Friendly, and with a bit of fun, she welcomed us in true Southern style. When visiting new places, that first contact with a local makes all the difference. Micah made us feel right at home. Ed's was looking like a great foodie find, but little did we know what we were in for. Now remember, we're in Ed's for breakfast. It's roughly 8 a.m. here, 9 where we live. Fab One and I keep flipping through the two-sided menu over and over. Lots of choices. Omelets, pancakes, eggs, any way you like. And a mention about some mighty fine biscuits. With a hint of mischief in her eyes, Fab One shyly says she's curious about Ed's signature pub burger. I glanced around over my shoulder at the sign outside. Sure enough, in big letters it proclaims, "Home of the Pub Burger." Suddenly, pancakes and hash browns were out and burgers were in. For both of us. Giggling like two kindergartners, we wondered if Ed's would be willing to whomp up a couple of pub burgers while the sun was still waking up outside. It was at this moment that Micah approached, pen and order paper in hand. Feeling like I was cheating on the breakfast gods, I mustered the courage to ask Micah if hamburgers, no, pub burgers could be in our near future. To our great amusement, she responded, absolutely. Proudly, we both ordered pub burgers. Well done, all the way. I ordered mine with fries. Something told us that this was going to be memorable. I could see two girls flipping food, slicing and dicing over the flat top, the clink of the spatula followed by sizzles and tiny billows of smoke. This was the heart of Ed's. It was long before a wonderful beefy sweet aroma filled the air. Pub burger fueled whiffs teasing our taste buds. Micah marched towards our table with 2 plates destined for our palates and a basket of fries. It was true home-cooked goodness. Golden buns with a shimmering glint of greasy yum oozing down. I bit into a fry first. The crunch told me this breakfast lunch bunch was a munching great hunch.
Oh, wow. We went Dr. Seuss for a second there.
The burger before me was cut in half. Crispy curves of beef overhung the bun. American cheese filled those curves, cascading into cheesicle drips. Taking that first bite of burger, I was in a very happy place, and so was that woman across the table from me. Can you picture a pickle-puckering smile face? I was in the midst of pure greatness, holding an all-the-way burger. Needed nothing else. Nothing. No added mayo, no ketchup, nothing! A juicy patty of perfection, lovingly wrapped in all the way wow! With a hint of what? You know it. Shiny good dripping down the hand. By far a burger worthy of any pub. Anywhere. Perfect ultimate burger. After thoroughly enjoying every last morsel of that monstrously meaty treat, we headed out the door, after paying our very decent tab, of course. With the mischief that is me, I couldn't resist talking to the cook responsible for this magical meal. I motioned at one of the cooks with a forefinger, "Come here, wiggle." The kind your mama would do when you're in trouble. She had a look of uh-oh on her face as she sheepishly stepped over to me. I proceeded to sternly announce that she hit that burger out of the park. Followed by a whole lot of very sincere praise. Her face went from OMG to glee immediately. Her name was Caroline. As she glowed, she said that made her day. She advised her able co-cook was Sam. Both lovely girls. Eds, we thank you, and we'll hopefully see you again soon. Oh,
I don't even. I love this guy.
This guy, man.
And the performance was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
A bow. Take a bow. That was beautiful.
I'm bowing.
That was listeners.
Well, I think that's all we discovered this week, but we'll be back
so much.
with more.
Bye, guys.
And remember, no, just kidding.
Forget everything.
No, don't remember.
Yeah, forget what you just heard. John B's, baby.
Bye-bye.
My God, I told you that was a long one.
That was great. Here You're really good at reading.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.